Celebrating 25 years as the talk of the Treasure Coast. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie. Time for Money Info, brought to you by Princeton Research with Mike King in Las Vegas and Charles Moskowitz in Boston, Massachusetts. And good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning. Very good.
So, what's going on in lovely Las Vegas? It's warm. It's a little
we
warm,
have
right?
just pretty nice weather.
Pretty nice
Pretty
weather. If you like triple digits, right?
I was going to say it's 214 degrees, but it's cooler in the shade. But there is none. No, we've had 95-degree weather. It's been a cool summer. Actually, we've had 95-degree weather, and it's a hot summer.
Well, actually, yeah, you guys have just had tons of humidity this year, right? Up in lovely Massachusetts.
Yeah, well, you know, if it's going to be that hot, you get fog and you get an afternoon thunderstorm.
Yep.
Which doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not too shabby. You know, everybody. It was funny when we moved here from Los Angeles. Everybody was telling us, "Oh, it's so humid in Florida," and I said, it was a lot more humid, as I remembered, in Hartford, Connecticut, in the summertime than it is here in Florida. There's no doubt about it.
I spent most of Saturday and part of Sunday on a boat in Newport.
Ooh, I love that place.
Even though it was hot, I mean, at least on the water there was a breeze.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in '83 to have covered the America's Cup in Newport for ESPN, and oh man, what a town! I had never been there before, and of course, I'm sure the town still is yet to recover from the Australians who wound up winning the cup. What a crazy bunch of folks! It was a lot of fun, though. Yeah, but
so the market's up pretty good today. This is the busiest week of the year for earnings, and the Google missed yesterday and it's trading 951. It traded 1,020
Whoa.
and a half on the headline. Then it came out with the internal numbers and what they actually did, and the stock traded down to 968 or so, and this morning it's they tried to rally it early, but it looks okay in here. I'm going to guess it's going to turn back up, maybe not today, but certainly in the next couple of days. Their biggest problem, it seems, was the $2.7 billion that they had to pay the EU on some sort of fine, antitrust, whatever it was. And so it has continued down. It traded 951, now it's 969, down only 28 and a half.
I was thinking of you guys, Tim Connolly it may have been 3 months ago, talked about it could be somewhere between 2020 and 2021 before we saw $60 a gallon. And what did I see last night when I was flipping through onto CNBC? That oil won't hit $60 a barrel until 2020. And I'm thinking, wow. And you heard it on Money Info 3 months ago.
Right.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's how plugged in he is. Yeah.
And I actually made my first loss this morning in the oil because it looked to me like I sold the long side and then I bought the short side, the ETF, and I took about $1.40 of loss on a stop, which is, clearly not that big a deal, considering that the last 5 or 6 trades in a row on the OILU, which is the up ETF, and the SCO, which is the levered down ETF, have all been profits. I mean, we must have had 5 or 6 in a row where we made 2, 3, as much as $5 on them.
Wow.
So, everybody keeps on talking now. They're talking about it won't get through 50 because 50 is where everybody comes in to sell it. So the Google had their earnings yesterday after the close. This morning we had Caterpillar, Johnson and Johnson,
McDonald's,
UTX, McDonald's, and the Caterpillar was up almost $6 pre-open.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's hard to get a company that big to have that kind of percentage gain any day. Usually, any week. So that's decent. UTX was a miss. McDonald's was a gain. We also had
DuPont was a gain.
Yeah, STX, which is a name that we, tend to not think about much. But it had a miss.
Who was STX, guys?
Seagate Technology.
It's a technology stock. It's a disk company, essentially. It's a disk drive company. And it's trading right now at 33 and change.
Okay.
And that's just down a scant 672 or 17%. It has traded as low as 31.88. I mean, these are the big, I hesitate to say old tech names, but kind of they are. I mean, Cisco is a great company, but it's really, it's coming around now. But up until recently, you could have considered that. And Intel, the old tech names, at least the Cisco has had a decent recovery. Some of the other ones have not. So it's kind of an interesting market. I'll tell you what's been strange about the market, Greg. Yesterday the Dow was down. The S&P was down. Well, the Dow was down, let's call it 0.3%. The S&P was down 0.03%.
Oh, gosh.
NASDAQ was up to a new high.
Wow.
And today it's exactly the opposite. You have all of these big cap names in the Dow. The Dow opened up about 140. The S&Ps opened up about $10, and the NASDAQ not so much, because these very heavily weighted names, really have an effect on the index.
Noticed on CNBC.
NASDAQ is down $2 now.
Mm-hmm.
The S&Ps are up $6, and the Dow is actually up 65. So it's given back about half of the gain, but still. And then yesterday, the internals of the market were slightly negative on the Dow stocks, on the New York Stock Exchange stocks, but the NASDAQ stocks were actually positive, where the New York stocks were advanced declines were, I don't remember exactly, but they were close, maybe 5 to 7 down. The other side, NASDAQ, was about 5 to 7 up.
Yeah.
So, you're seeing a lot of that in the market. And, the thing that I want to stress here is that investors should be careful of what they're looking at as, quote, the market, which is what all the, evening newses talk about. A down day in the S&Ps and an up day in the NASDAQ means if you own these big names, or the biotech and pharma stocks, which have rotated into a very positive spot, then the market wasn't down for you. The market was up for you. And the same way on the other direction is, when you see that the market is up like it is now, you still have to be aware of what you're looking at and what you're talking about. Remember that the Dow is really only 30 stocks.
Right.
S&P is 500, and the New York Stock Exchange Composite is the other 5,000.
Yeah, exactly. Noticed HCA was down a little bit. Of course, we have a lot of the HCA hospitals, including two right here on the Treasure Coast. They were down, missing apparently earnings yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Charles' main recommendation is Archer Daniels Midland, ADM.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, and
Mike asked me to look into the ethanol producers over the weekend, and I did. And they're the five biggest. Only two of them are actually public companies. Archer Daniels Midland is one, and Valero Energy is the other.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
talked about Valero. We've talked about Valero before.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have a head and shoulders advantage over most of the other refiners because they have the most flexible refinery. If they wanted to turn off, high test gas or aviation fuel and go to ethanol, they could. It just depends. And so that's why, that one, while everybody is concerned about the price of oil, they are the least concerned because they can go in whatever direction they want, which is a dramatic advantage.
Yeah, well,
Archer Daniels Midland, people may not realize, it's a massive company. It's a company that takes all of the raw material, the corn, the wheat, and the oils, the soybean oil and linseed oil and all of those things, and they turn those into food. I mean, they're huge in the breakfast cereals,
sure,
for example, or the bread. I mean, they are really great. The other three are all private companies and fairly smaller.
I thought of you guys this morning when I was looking at Freeport Mac. Their stock was up pretty dramatically. I'm thinking, so something's going on in the mining world, huh?
Yeah, well, I keep that one on my screen all the time, and it's
Do you?
$1.60 or 13% at $14.56. And I'll tell you the other one that is up, not much today, but has been up in the last week or so. Mosaic, who does the oil offshoots, the people that do, for example, fertilizer and things like that. So those kind of go hand in hand with like the Archer Daniels, but FCX, I mean, even when it happened, everybody talked about how they overpaid because they got into the oil business while oil was hot. Now, of course, it's sucking wind. The other thing that they produce a lot of is copper, which, if there's any slowdown, they get hurt in that. Fortunately, they're a big multinational company, and so as the EU economy expands, they have that advantage. There's a lot of copper that goes into a lot of products.
Oh, sure.
Not just copper piping. I mean, although that's very big, but the fact is, there's a lot of copper. Well, I remember when we first started talking about the Prius and electric cars a couple of years ago, there was something like 168 pounds of copper in the Prius. And now you have, Tesla and the Chevy Volt and, all these others. Those things will take off at some point in time. It's just a matter of getting the pricing right for manufacturing of them, and then you'll see a huge jump in the copper.
Well, I think,
I think
Jerry.
David McCovey signed in.
Oh, David, are you with us? Don't think so.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, you are?
Oh,
okay, cool. Okay. Well,
Welcome,
we'll get
David
to
McCovey of
yeah.
Evolution Travel.
Yeah, this is a first time for David. But just as one last thing on the Prius and the Tesla, Charles, Governor Jerry Brown is now talking $100 a month penalty if you have an electric car. So you will pay $1,200
Well,
a
I have
year.
news for you. But the fact of the matter is, that's nothing. Do you not use $100 worth of gas a month?
Well, actually, you're probably right. Yes. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well.
I have to turn off my Jaguar when I go to fill it up so that the pump can catch up. And it only takes high tests.
Well, see, David McCovey doesn't spend anything on gas because he's always flying somewhere. David, welcome aboard. Tell us a little bit about your company, Evolution Travel.
Good morning, guys. First time on. A pleasure to speak with you guys, and extreme pleasure. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight or this morning. Sorry.
You bet.
Thank you. My company, it's pretty cool. We actually have several thousand agents right now across the U.S. and internationally. And what we did is we just took a business model that, a lot of people thought were extinct and put it into not just network marketing form, but into it's like a family business. So what we do is we enroll home-based travel agents. And so now when you book your travel or travel for, friends and family, it's the exact same thing as if you would simply just log online and purchase through Expedia or places like that, or the other online platforms, except now you earn a commission for your travel. And we were always on the wrong side of that. We knew that you could, log online and do those things and basically be a travel agent, but without receiving, the commissions of travel agents and the travel agent perks. And so, it's not so much that you don't have to go through Expedia. You just go through the Expedia platform. Expedia has a platform called TAP, Expedia TAP. It's the travel agent platform. And in 2016, we actually were one of their top producers and received, that recognition and the awards for that. So, we just allow people to work from home doing the exact same thing that they would do before, except now they earn commission on it and get the tax breaks of having a home-based business. So that's kind of what our package is.
That's very interesting. Wow. So,
is there any specific segment that gets done this way? I mean, are there more cruises or packages done this way as opposed to airlines?
Yeah. Actually, we can do everything. It's full service, so anything that you can think of as far as cruises, tours, hotel stay, resorts, anything. We can do airline tickets, everything. The biggest margin, though, what a lot of our agents are having the huge commissions and the great success is through cruises, and especially through group bookings. There's a ton of perks that the agent receives, like you even receive free cabins after so many bookings, and it's the highest percentage of commission paid back to that. On average, it's about 12 to 15% on anything that you book. So say, for instance, if you have a $1,000 booking, depending on the provider or the vendor, there's usually about 12 to 15% worth of commission there. So just call it $150 in commission for that particular booking. Yeah, it is strong. And in our company, we pay the highest in the industry. We pay 90% of that commission back to our agents. And so with 80% going directly to the person who booked the travel, and then 10% going to the sponsor of that person. So, for instance, if I bring one of you gentlemen into the business and you guys do, say, $1,000 in commission, you would make 800 of those dollars. I would make 100 as the person who sponsored you into the business, and then the company keeps 10%. So we pay out the highest commission rate in the industry.
That's great. It's funny. We used to have breakfast with Birchfield when the late Ed Birchfield was alive and kicking, and we had as many as 200, maybe 225 people on Carnival Cruises, and we went every year. And when the moment you said, you get X amount of cabins, kicked back to the travel agent. That was very true. When we had all that, I think it was like 4 cabins or something like that, which were at her discretion then. Yeah, I understand that. That's wild. That's it. Okay, so obviously,
Greg?
yeah, go ahead.
Greg, you're fading in and out a little.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, and you've like almost faded away, Charles. I don't know what's happening here.
It's my new diet.
There you go. I was wondering where you were. Your new diet. You've lost that much weight, huh? Congratulations. Oh, man. But travel agents, I know the ones that we had worked with here, had complained that the airlines weren't paying commissions anymore, and the cruise ships weren't paying any commissions anymore. But I guess they still are, huh?
Yeah, the cruises are. They're the holy grail, if you will, because there's more money to be made on cruises than anywhere else. Now the airlines, they were accurate in that because the margins are so short and so competitive. A lot of times for the airline, unless it's international business travel or better, then there are not commissions paid on that. So what we like to do is package everything up. So maybe if you're traveling, you need your rental car, you need your hotel or your resort, and you need your flight. So therefore, we put the package together, and then we take the commission out of the overall deal. But for flights, it's really tough. And as you guys may know, I can check a flight for you right now, and you go back and check it again in an hour and a half, and it's a totally different price. And so that's one of the things that keeps the airlines from being able to, pay out the commissions and things like that on air travel only.
Is that because of fuel prices, pretty much?
I totally believe that it is because the way that thing, fluctuates. I think that's a huge part of it. And then also it's just because it's so competitive, and again, with some of the lower tier airlines like Spirit and Allegiant really cutting into the margins of the bigger airlines, I think that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah, and I know Spirit is big here in South Florida, down in Fort Lauderdale. I think they fly out of there. Allegiant, I think, flies out of Orlando Sanford or something. It's not the main Orlando airport, but it's the other one that's up there. And they do a lot of international, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And again, everyone's trying to find their own niche within the niche, if you will. And so it's good for prices. A lot of the prices have come down, and you see some of the, the older guys that we always experience the cheaper pricing with, like the Southwest Airlines. You notice now they're a lot more expensive than they used to be. So everybody's trying to find their own way, in the space, and that's what makes it harder for us to earn commissions on the air travel. So again,
the last time that I went to Las Vegas for an appointment, I was amazed to see that JetBlue is a great flight from Boston to there. And so I went online on JetBlue and I looked at it, and it was, $680. Then I clicked on their vacation packages because I was flying in late at night, having the appointment in the morning, and then leaving that night, and using their vacation desk to take the flight and bundle it with my rental car and the hotel for that one night actually cost me about $60 less than just the airfare was going to cost me.
Absolutely. It's absolutely incredible. And you sit back and, as business people, we play with the numbers. You say, well, how is that even possible? But you see it all the time. And that's why I tell people it's almost, insane not to bundle when at all possible. And then you also put in your trip insurance because you never know what happens. But when you put it in that bundle, you still don't even notice the cost of it. And so that's the way that we advise, all of our friends, family, and clients to travel. That's the only way that makes sense to me.
David, this is really interesting. And you mentioned insurance. And we have a couple friends here on the Treasure Coast that ran into some pretty serious problems in Europe. One had a heart attack, and another had a stroke, and that insurance really helps. But what happens if a major health thing happens in a foreign country? I mean, that's a big question.
It's tough, and guys, that's one of the reasons why we say that a lot of the things that you can do online, you can jump online and you can do the Expedias and things like that, but we just always recommend having an agent because you never know what happens, and it's always good to have that voice in your ear, or that quarterback, if you will, on the other side of the line that can actually do things for you and get you the right way. Because if you're running through any hardship, or I don't care, even if it's something as small as missing a flight, good luck with trying to get Expedia or someone like that on the line. It's not going to happen. And so, but when you have someone that you work directly with, it's a little easier. I can sit here at my desk, at home, on my cell phone, on my tablet, wherever I am in the world, and help you get navigated to for the right things. And so we definitely preach that, and we preach the fact of the insurance, because if you have something that happens and you don't have that, I mean, you're out of luck. And it's a sad truth, but that's what happens. Now, when you are having medical issues or things like that, and you are out of the country, now you have someone that can help you deal with that as well. We actually had a family member that was on the cruise in the middle of nowhere, and we were able to had an issue on the boat. They had to get the helicopter to fly her off of there and get her to the hotel and all that kind of thing. But just as having a travel agent, someone working for you outside of that particular hornet's nest, it just alleviates a lot of the stress that you have to deal with, because someone on the outside is helping you. Because a lot of times if you're traveling with friends and family who would be that immediate person of contact, right? And so just to have someone outside of that helping you is tremendous.
Yeah, that
it's a hassle. It's a hassle to even look up the numbers for the people that you're going to sit on hold for.
Oh, sure. Well, now, so David, pardon me there, cough there. What would you say right now, looking at your crystal ball? What are the most popular cruises that we've got in 2017, 2018?
The Bahamas type of cruise, the short ones, because I'm a West Coast guy. So the short ones from the West Coast out of California, to Mexico, those are always and probably always will be the most popular. But depending on the style that you're looking for, there's two cruise lines that we use a lot. One is Carnival. That's more of a party type of cruise. And when you kind of want to get a little bit more sophisticated, we use the Norwegians and the Princesses. My favorite so far has been Oasis of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. It was really, really nice. And so we took a group, I think it was about 200 of us over there. We went to the Bahamas, and it's got a New York theme on the ship. So that one was pretty impressive. I know that one stays basically sold out. So I would say that that's probably one of the most popular. But anytime you're doing Bahamas or West Coast and you're going to Mexico, those are strong cruises as well. We're seeing a spike in the Alaska cruise line with that 14 and 21 dayer. For those that have that discretionary income that can afford to take those type of trips, we're seeing a huge spike in that particular sector. So I would say those are the top three right now.
It's very funny. On Sunday, I get a phone call at home, and ironically, I had, on my tablet, I had just gone through like Viking river cruises and Viking ocean cruises, and this very nice young guy called and said, I don't know whether we dropped the ball or not, but a couple months ago you had an inquiry about a Viking cruise. Were you starting to book it? And I said, well, no, this is like 2018, and we're ways away yet. But I thought that, okay, very interesting that the company is really paying attention.
Absolutely. Especially, it's like any other type of marketing, guys. People fill out their information or a request form or just some information, and it's definitely somebody's job to follow up with that client and see, if they've taken that trip or if they're still interested and things like that, and that's good marketing on their side. I definitely applaud them for that.
How has that, of course, we've seen a lot of the network television spots for Viking, especially the Viking River cruises. How have they made a dent at all into Carnival or Royal Caribbean?
I think that they're their own sector, and it's just like anything else as far as marketing or sales. It's really hard to change a person's buying habits, right? So most people just kind of like what they like, and after you've done several cruises, then at that point you may kind of look to do a little something else. But overall, it's just like I liken it to being, raised as a child. You tend to do things that your parents did. And so if your parents were, Carnival Cruisers or Norwegian or Princess, that's where you tend to be. So, the Vikings, they definitely have their own sector, but I don't think that they've cut into a lot of the upper tier.
And again, as
cruise
you were saying about the airlines looking for their niche, the Viking River Cruises is definitely a niche.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, David,
But they look great.
yeah.
I mean, they really look great. And they're not cheap.
And David has taken over a public company with the symbol SITS. I believe David's taken that over.
ITS.
First
Yeah.
merged.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember seeing that logo at our travel agent's office. ITS, yeah. Okay, so that's yours now, huh?
Yeah, we did a reverse merger, and so we're in control of the vehicle now, and we've got a little momentum there. The stock's starting to rise, and so we're excited about the future. We actually just put out some of our Q1s and Q2s, and we exceeded what we were shooting for. So the market's been pretty happy with us. We've had some really positive things said by or to us from Investor Hub and Bloomberg and places like that. So we've got a little momentum right now, but we're looking to keep doing what we're doing and get that price up even higher. But we're excited about where we are right now at such an early stage. It's only been a few weeks.
Well, David, where do we find you on the web? I mean, this is really interesting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Evolution Enterprises, it's EVO Enterprises Inc.com.
Okay.
And that talks about our different wholly owned subs and different divisions. But our main division is Evolution Travel, which is our flagship right now. That's where we're seeing huge revenue, and that's actually the division that our several thousand agents are in. So how that part works is, like I said, we enroll home-based travel agents, and there's an enrollment fee that they pay, and then a small monthly fee, and so that generates tremendous revenue for the company to kind of keep the infrastructure right. But we're doing very well on the travel side. We're averaging over $1 million a month right now in travel sales.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, and now tell us, I know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 specific friends of ours who are home-based travel agents now, just here on the Treasure Coast. So how would they, be part of your operation?
They can definitely see what we have to offer and check us out. The website for that is myevolutiontravel.com. So myevolution, EVOLUTION, travel.com. And so it shows our commission structure and things like that. One thing that's really, really, I'd say definitely it's groundbreaking in our industry is that we have most network marketing forums. They have almost like a hierarchy. It's almost kind of structured like the pyramid type of deal. And with ours, it's not. As an agent, you actually there's a revenue sharing that we do. So our residual income is based on revenue sharing. So all of the money goes into a pool or a pie, if you will. And then depending on your rank within the company, you share in that particular revenue. So for instance, you guys will learn a little bit about this as you check out the website. But one of our top tiers is called a platinum consultant. So once you reach platinum consultant, you receive 30%, or you split 30% of the overall revenue from the company within that particular portion of the pie. So every person who's a platinum, they split 30%. People that are gold consultants, they split 12%, and so on and so forth. So it's really a unique concept, because now not only do you make money on your booking your travel, but you also make money on all of the agents company-wide. So it's not just like, if you guys are familiar with the MLMs aspect, it's usually just you and your particular team. But for us, it's different. It's a total pie concept, or pool. So all the money goes into a pool, and then it's divided amongst everyone in the company. So you don't necessarily have to have a huge team to actually make a lot of residual income. So that's a concept that we came up with, and no other company has that right now.
Very interesting. Wow, that's wild. Well, now talk a little bit about your the Alaska cruises. I mean, there's always been this allure. Actually, we were looking at taking the station cruise up there, but our our morning show host was stationed up in Alaska. When he was in the service, he said, "There's no way I'm getting on a boat to go to Alaska." But for people in Florida, it seems very attractive to head up there.
Yeah, and that's where we see a lot of our clients, personal clients that go to there. They go from the Florida area, so it's different for them. You go from one type of environment totally to something different, and I think that's the allure or the attraction to that. Again, on the West Coast, we don't see a lot of those. Over here, we do a lot of the Mexicos and things like that, but we see a ton of that from our East Coast partners.
I'll bet. Yeah. No, there's something about it. Now, what about, I was reading in, I think it was the Miami Herald several years ago, that Florida is the leading state for skiers in the Rockies. And I was sitting here going, what? But apparently you guys packed the Rockies with a bunch of folks from the Southeast who are into snow skiing.
Yeah, and it's the opposite, the other side, right? The ones that are snowbirds, they try to get out of there. So again, it's like people want what they're not used to, right? That's the attraction. It's because in Florida, you guys aren't seeing any snow, so it's like, okay, when we get a chance, let's go see the snow. And it's exactly the same thing for people who are in the snow. They want to get out of the snow and go to the sunny weather. So it makes sense. We've always been those type of creatures that we want what we're not used to.
Sure. Well, now the ski resorts per se, how are they doing in the U.S. and do you work with a lot of them?
We have different higher tier agents that kind of deal with different niches, if you will. So, we kind of like to have different people who specialize in something, so that way when we have someone that's interested in something, we know exactly who to plug them into. There's 3 or 4 top agents that are extremely well versed in each particular genre, if you will, of travel, and so that's what we put them with. That way the person can get the best experience from the person that has the most knowledge of that particular topic. So we have agents that do a little bit of everything.
Charles, any questions for David? This is fascinating. I love this.
Not really. It's a very straightforward story, and the stock has acted really well. On the original announcement a couple of weeks ago, it took a substantial leap, and then it consolidated for about 3 weeks, a week and 2.5 weeks, and then had another move about a week ago. That be about right? Where
yeah,
it got up as high as 4 or 5, or what's it? I just had the chart up. 1 second. SITS. Yeah, it had that. 7. Yeah, it had the initial move from 2 cents to 6 cents, and then it consolidated for 2.5 months, and then it started up, and in about 4 days went from 3.8 to trade as high as 12 cents. Now it's right around that 6 cent, 5.6 cent area, and actually the stock is really well supported there because that was the point of breakout for that big run, right around 6 cents. So, a normal and expectable pullback, and it's getting pretty much to oversold. It's hard to look at these charts of reverse mergers because the company is changing its personality, its business, and who it is. And, you get a different shareholder base. And that looks like it's going really well. If I saw this thing back another penny, I would have to buy it.
So, Charles, for total neophytes that are just turning the radio on, what is a reverse merger?
Did you ask me?
Yes.
Greg? Yeah. A reverse merger is when somebody takes over a company And what it looks like on paper is it looks like the company is buying the new company, as opposed to what it really is, the company that's being bought is actually getting control of that company. And it's the easiest and most capital way to do these kind of things. But the thing is, whoever was in Southern ITS Interactive and was watching their stock at a half a penny or a penny, all of a sudden they are shareholders in a company that actually has strong operations and, and a business plan with which to be profitable, as opposed to doing an IPO where you have to hire an investment bank and the work is much longer to get done and harder to do, and much more costly.
Sure.
Obviously, you could do a reverse merger for a couple of $100,000, and that's actually even a little on the expensive side in order to become public. It's a very, very common thing for companies that don't want to go through the rigmarole, or frankly, the requirements. The requirements for evolution are the same requirements that were there for SITS. If you do the investment bank route, you have to worry about all of the, in this, they only have the listing requirements. On an IPO, they have to have, 3 years of audited statements, and, there are some big hoops to jump through, which is why it's so expensive and why it's such a lengthy process.
Wow. Yeah. So this is totally different than a hostile takeover then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is as friendly as it gets. You, like I said, you had people in SITS sitting there at a half a cent a share, and you're basically contributing a business for control of the asset. But, 99% of these things don't really have a business in them. So this is a very friendly action for the old shareholders.
Gotcha.
Look at what's happened here. The stock, after being down from 12 to 5.5 cents, is still 10 times higher than it was before evolution came along and put itself in there.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, David, we've got, it's hard to imagine. We've only got about 10 minutes left. Actually, what am I saying? We don't have that. Yeah, it's about that left. What are your goals for the rest of 2017 and heading into 2018?
Definitely to continue to, to do what we've been doing. One thing I talk to my group about all the time is, keeping the main thing the main thing. We have this ability in this platform because we've done some great things on the travel side. So, I want them to, let us worry about the public side, but continue to run their business, the way that they were before. I don't want them to lose focus. My grandmother always had a saying, she always said, dance with who brought you. And that just means, focus on how you got to where you are. And so we want to continue to do that, but we know that, taking care of our investors and building the stock up is a separate business in itself. So, we've got a great team to continue to push that forward. But, it's just really to continue to grow our revenue. We've met our expectations and actually exceeded them for our Q1 and Q2. And it's the same thing going forward. Our overall number, we're looking at meeting that. We want to do $12 million this year, and we're actually at 7 already. So, that number should be able to be put in the bag pretty easily. So we're just going to continue to do that and, just provide value for, the shareholders where they actually have something, right? You guys just mentioned that oftentimes in these particular vehicles, there's nothing there. We have a strong business there, and we want to, use that to get to the next platform and further on. And there's actually a couple companies that are similar to mine. I would say not as dynamic, but they're doing pretty well, and we're looking to do some acquisitions with those particular companies. And so that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to go to the public markets because we knew we wanted to do acquisitions and raise some funds and do some things to continue to grow the overall business and the brand. So that's what our goal is for 2017 and 2018.
That's interesting.
And
David.
Greg, the thing is
Yep.
that, they're managing shareholder expectations. And if you recall, back in the old days, probably 3 or 4 years ago, we had a company that was in the oil business. And they came on and they told us what they were going to do, and they did it, and the stock was up 400 or 500% in the following year. So that's the formula. The formula is this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and then benchmarks along the way so that the shareholders remain engaged so that when you say we've done this and this, they know you're 50% through your business plan and what to look for next and what degree of success they had in doing what they said they were going to do. So, if you recall, I think it was actually Lucas Oil, they used to come on the radio show all the time.
Sure.
And the stock was 80 cents, and then it was $1.25. And then when somebody when Marathon bought the property next to theirs for an incredible price, the stock went to $5. But it was
yes.
basically the same thing. It was have a plan, tell people what the plan is, put the benchmarks along the way, and as you succeed in managing those expectations, you succeed in having a stock price that increases.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
And
Yeah.
what you have to remember about SITS is that forgetting about at a half a penny or a penny, but at a nickel, right where it is now, 5.6 cents, the gain can be exponential as opposed to arithmetic, where the stock will double and then it'll go up another 50% and then it'll go up another 50. I mean, if the plan is well executed, that's what happens. That's kind of the whole theory behind being involved in penny stocks. Yeah, so I'll buy 100,000 shares at a nickel, and that's $5,000, and I'm comfortable with that. And if I lose it, I lose it. But the real thing is, think about it. I know it's going to sound like an absurd comparison, but when Facebook came out and got cut in half, and then turned back to the upside, you now have days in Facebook that were as big as the original price of the stock when it was down.
Days.
It's so unusual to see, to look at it and see, this stock, once it's $1, let's say, a move to $1.05 is inconsequential. It's a nothing move. But if you own it at 5 cents, it's doubling your money again.
Sure. Yeah.
You go through doubling it every 5 cents, and the hard ones are down here. The easy ones are above you. Where the stock can go up from $1 10%, and that doubles again your investment in it.
Wow, that's amazing. David, you're on the OTC, I presume, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right.
OTCQB, which is good listing.
Oh, yeah, the OTCQB. And once again, what is your stock symbol?
It's SITS, SITS.
SITS. Very simple. Wow, that's amazing. Well, Evolution Travel. This sounds very interesting. So if you're a travel agent out there, you may want to get a hold of these guys, David McCovey and company. And what's fascinating here is that you don't have much brick and mortar. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, everything is work from home. I think it's the wave of the future, and it also allows us to do the right thing as far as, financially, because we don't have a ton of overhead, and when we're looking at what we actually do, in the marketplace, I mean, you guys know the cruise ships, the airlines, the hotels, they're already owned by other people. So we just get to use them, right? We get to provide a service and use those things. So it's not something that costs us a ton of money to do, which makes our bottom line, even better. So it's a good business model.
This is absolutely fascinating. I really think you're onto something. And, wow. Michael, I think you hit a home run with this one.
This company is very impressive. It's very underpriced. It looks to me like a 20 to 30 cent stock right away here. And it's got excellent management now.
Well, and David, I think in a way you're coming at the right time. A lot of people do think of travel, and one final question for me at least is, what has been the reaction of, say, millennials who are maybe looking for a new career, but maybe having kind of a tough time finding a job?
We've done really, really well with the millennials, and you know how it is these days. It's a microwave society. People want what they want, and they want it right now. And because of our deal, the commissions are paid very, very quickly, so it allows them to kind of work from home and stay in their circle of influence and do well. And we tell people that if you've ever booked a trip online, you're a travel agent because you're doing the exact same thing at that point that you would be doing now, except now you would earn income from it. So, again, it's a great business model, and with our overall revenue share, that makes it even more powerful. So we have gotten a lot of attention from the millennials, and we expect to continue to do that. And even as far as the baby boomers, right? Because, a lot of those, that group's still traveling and doing what they're doing, and they have time freedom. Yeah, so it just makes sense. If you're going to you don't have to change your habits. So everything that you were going to do involving your travel before is the exact same thing that you still do now. It's the same providers, the same airlines, the same cruise lines, the same hotels, except now you earn a commission on that particular travel. It just makes sense because you're not doing anything differently than you were before.
And you've got 10,000 of us baby boomers retiring every day. You've got an incredible model here. I really think you're onto something at Evolution Travel.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Well, hey, David McCovey, Evolution Travel. Again, they're on the OTCQB at SITS. And, David, the website again for Evolution Travel?
Yeah, definitely. For if you're interested in looking at the overall public vehicle, it's EVO, E, V like Victor, O, Enterprises, INC.com. And again, our flagship division is Evolution Travel. That's where you can enroll to become a home-based travel agent or get more information. And that particular website is myevolutiontravel.com.
All right. myevolutiontravel.com. David McCovey, thank you so much. First visit on Money Info, and hopefully it definitely will not be your last. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie, Talk of the Treasure Coast, WPSL.com, webcaster to the world.